book lovers. We are Ellen and Sarah, and this is Besties and Books, where we drink wine, share laughs, talk fantasy, and all the stories that steal our hearts. Today, we are doing the unthinkable, roasting our favourite books.
So we adore these books, but no book is perfect, okay? So we're putting on our sassy hats, we're pointing out the ridiculous, the flawed, and the downright cringy things about them, all in good fun.
Now, before you come at us in the comments, we have to make one thing very clear. We love these books. Absolutely love them. We have cried over these books. We have stayed up all night reading these books. We have shoved them into the hands of every friend we have. But even the best of books have their quirks or their oddities or their little so-so moments. And today we are celebrating that with a little bit of light-hearted roasting. Because if you can't laugh at your faves, are you really a fan?
So grab a glass of wine or your favourite drink, besties, and have your TBR list ready, because despite all the roasting we are about to do, we guarantee that you will love these books.
So first up, we have A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. Now, this is book 2 in the Akuta series. There will be a few spoilers in here from book number 1. So if you haven't read book number 1, perhaps just don't listen for the next few minutes. The rest of our books will be spoiler free. Now, likely I do not need to explain why this book is a favourite, but I will do it anyway. It is all about Feyre and Rhys. So we start off, Feyre is struggling with the trauma from her time under the mountain in book 1, and her relationship with Tamlin is starting to suffocate her. So enter Rhys and his bargain to whisk her away every month. So that's just to set the stage. So now into our Court of Mist and Fury roast, or should I say a court of overhyped drama and shirtless fairies. I think we can all agree, and the first time I read this book, this bothered me. I must say, the more times I read it, it doesn't bother me. But is it wrong that a middle-aged man, it's wrong if a middle-aged man tries to get into a teenager's pants. But all of a sudden it's hot when it's a 300-year-old man trying to get into a teenager's pants. But anyway.
Because she's 19, right?
She's 19 and he is he 300? I think he's 300.
Yeah,
or 5,
like
he
that.
might be 500. I can't remember. And the other thing that I've also become immune to is all of the snarling and the growling. Like all the time. Like they're some sort of animals. And I suppose we're supposed to think they are half animal, half human. I don't know. But the number of times, if I could count the number of times that they snarl or growl, I'm sure it would be in the dozens in this book.
How would you growl? How do you picture the growl?
Oh, in my head, I'd never understand it. Like reading it, I'm like, oh, that's cute. But if I was to try to, like, I don't know how it works in real life. Like,
just like, how would you?
Don't go near my woman and they're like, yeah. I just am not sure. Anyway, now let's talk about Rhys. So, I love Rhys, but really, I think we forget that in the first book, he threatens Feyre. He tortures her. Remember that scene? He's twisting a broken arm just to prove she needs his help.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Rhysy, you bad boy.
He twists her arm to prove she needs help and then forces her to make a bargain with him. A bargain that gives him a week every month for the rest of her life. Oh, and then he drugs her. Every night he drugs her and parades her around naked. Apparently he never touches her, but seeing as she's drugged, how would we ever know that, right?
I think the only thing that reassured us that she wasn't being touched was that tattoo. The paint had only disappeared in the certain spots, but
let's not forget
that what does that really mean?
He also gave what he thought was her name to Amarantha, so that entire family was murdered. Remember Claire Better? She's murdered. So that's the hero that people think Feyre should be with over Tamlin, who protected her, looked after her family, and gave her everything she asked for. Like, come on. I can see why there's some Tamlin lovers out there. Actually, I can't really, but anyway. And then the length of this book, it's 600 pages of unnecessary descriptions of clothes, Rhys's goodness, Tamlin's badness, Feyre's vomiting, and the mating, getting from point A to B, 600 pages of the High Lords parading around, High Lords to whom I wouldn't trust to rule a swamp, let alone a kingdom. And excuse me while I go read it for my 50th time.
Do you know what also makes me laugh, which every time I read it, it does bother me, is when Reese is teaching her how to read by writing Reese is sexy. Reese is so hot. Reese is sexy. I'm like, how does one learn how to read just from those 4 words? Can you explain that to me?
Yeah.
Like every single time I read that, I'm like, are you for real? But I do love this book so much. All right. So let's do Fourth Wing, which is arguably one of my favourite books of all time. So, Fourth Wing, the book that said, what if Hunger Games and How to Train Your Dragon had a spicy baby and sent it to war college? Let's be real. Violet Sorrengail is 5'2", has brittle bones, asthma, social anxiety, but somehow survives a death school by giving everyone PTSD and getting the hottest, most emotionally unavailable dragon daddy in town.
So good.
Suspension or disbelief? Shattered. This girl can't carry a backpack without dislocating a shoulder, but sure, let's strap her to a murder lizard mid-air and see what happens. And don't get me started on Xaden. He's like if eyeliner and trauma were a person. Every line he delivers sounds like it was stolen from a Tumblr post written in 2012. We love him, but he also needs to go to therapy.
Probably fair.
I feel like ChatGPT's on point with Violet, though. I understand the representation there, but honestly, how has she managed to bond a dragon with all her ailments?
And like, we sort of get a bit sick of the perfect female characters. So, give her a few flaws.
Yeah, no, agreed.
All right, next up we have When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. This is book 1 in the Moonfall series. Now, I loved this fast-paced romantasy for its beautiful storytelling, the witty banter, lots of dragons, moons falling from the sky, and of course, 2 great protagonists, Rave and Khan. But not all books are perfect. Let's talk about the writing. So this book has been described as being written in a very poetic way, but the flip side is it's actually also really bloody distracting. For example, in one scene where Rave is crying about the rain, instead of describing this as a normal person, this is what we get, literally all within a page or 2. Another wailing bead plunges, an agonized splat, weeping corpse, heavy droplets wail as they plunge, singing foreign words I don't understand, howling from the shock of their savage deconstruction, all to describe the rain. Like that's nuts, right?
Yeah, it is.
Another example of her writing.
And we disguise it by saying it's poetic.
Yes. Another example of her writing, because in these fae books, everyone likes to smell everyone else, and their scents are very important. So Rave first meets someone, and this is how she describes their scent, literally in just like walking past them. So close, I'm struck with a smoky musk, pinched with the smell of freshly split stone, softened with notes of something buttery. I mean, like, what does that even mean? That is pure just nonsense, honestly. Actually, I think the author actually summed up her book in this quote, which is from her book. You can reshape a turd an infinite number of times, but it's still a turd. It still sticks. But actually, I also did love this book. So yeah. But that is from the book.
What's funny is I didn't notice any of this stuff when I was reading it. Like I knew it was written differently.
I did notice it was like quite waffly, but yeah, I didn't. I think I listened to this one on Audible, and the girl's voice was like she was a good narrator. So I didn't mind that it sort of like just kept on going.
I just kept picturing, like, I noticed it, but I instantly associated with what people were saying about it being more like a poem or poetic writing rather than it being, I guess, narrative storytelling. But all right, moving on to Quicksilver. We love Quicksilver by Callie Hart. I think it follows Ceres, and she steals like a glove or a cuff of some kind from a guard and ends up fleeing. Somehow there ends up to be this pool of Quicksilver, essentially, and she's transported to the Fae realm where she meets Kingfisher. Terrible name for an MMC, but we love this book. It was super fast paced. The side characters are some of the best side characters I have ever read, and the plot twist, the romance, I live for it, and I am so excited for book 2. I think it comes out the end of this year.
Yeah, I was wondering. I hope so.
Yeah, I think it's either end of this year or early next year. I know When the Moon Hatched got postponed till January. That was supposed to be October, book 2, but it's now January. But anyway, I think it's the end of this year that Quicksilver book 2 comes out. It's called Brimstone. So here we go, ChatGPT, where every page is 90% smouldering looks, 10% plot, and 100% red flag romance. This book said, let's throw trauma, crime, and inappropriate chemistry into a blender and then make the characters sexy while they lie, cheat, kill, and brood in corners like they're auditioning for the world's most dysfunctional soap opera. And honestly, the emotional damage, immaculate. These characters are constantly either crying, punching, or doing things we cannot mention on YouTube without getting demonetized. And somehow, the deeper into their toxic love spiral you go, the more you root for it. It's like Stockholm Syndrome, but make it spicy.
So good.
But also, I remember, if I was going to critique it, first of all, the cover is shocking. We have spoken about it. I will link the video in the description below where we judge the book by the cover, and Quicksilver gets an honourable mention because it is one of the worst covers we've ever seen. But it just proves not to judge the book by the cover because it's one of the best. But I remember the author describing Kingfisher's package in quite a lot of detail.
Describing his what?
Slightly, his package, like his bits. I'm like, how do I say this without getting censored?
What?
Just going on about how long and thick it was. Like, she went on and on and on about it and the fit and whatever. And I was like, good Lord.
I don't remember that. That's funny. I mean, it doesn't surprise me. It's on all the books.
Yeah. I think she normally writes romance. I think this is her first fantasy romance. She's sort of similar. I don't know if it's dark romance, but she does a lot of why choose romances as well. So where you don't have to choose between the male love interests. Yeah, I don't know if I'd pick up, but all her covers are quite questionable.
Yeah, she needs a new, I don't know, was it editor or something?
Yeah.
Artist.
Anyway.
All right, next up we have House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. Now, this is book 1 in the Crescent City series. So, book 1 of Crescent City, where we follow Bryce and Hunt as they head up an investigation into the brutal killings of Bryce's friends, has a little bit of everything. We have the usual Fae and humans, but that obviously was not enough for Sarah J. Maas this time around. But that was obviously not enough for Sarah J. Maas this time around. So she added in angels and demons and then witches. And don't forget the werewolves and the magicians. Oh, and there are mermaids and fire sprites and vampires and fauns and probably more I missed. I mean, no wonder this book is 800 pages long to fit them all in. Or it could just be all of the info dumping that happens up front. I think she took on criticism from a previous series and thought, I need to world build. But she just world builded to the max in the first quarter of the book. Half the stuff we didn't really care about. We didn't really care what Bryce did at university. We didn't care about some awkward ass date she goes on with a skimpy ass dress. Then, when we finally think some action's going to happen, there's more info dumping about the fantasy world she lives in. Like, they have cell phones, but audio mail and interweb, because I guess voicemail and internet sounded a little bit too contemporary to belong in this fantasy world. And what does SJM have against the word smile? I swear, if I have to read their mouth curved upward one more time, I swear to the gods, there's going to be blood.
I actually didn't even know that meant smile. I don't know what I thought it meant. I thought it meant like a smirk.
Oh, like
no,
a smirk.
You're right.
Well, then use the word smirk, or although she does use the word smirk a lot.
That's true.
But I think
she does.
I don't know. I assumed it was just good old smile.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. All right, let's move into the last book. Here we go. Okay, Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. This is it's a romantasy, but it's low on the romantic side compared to her other series, I would say. It's more focused on the epic fantasy world building side, and it follows assassin Selena Sardothian. I actually struggled to get into the first 2 books, but by, I think it was Assassin's Blade, when you go back to the prequel, obsessed. Air of Fire, obsessed. Crowd of Midnight, obsessed. It just gets better and better and better and better. I loved it. By the end, the plot twist in Kingdom of Ash, I was bawling. It was like such, like, I still remember those emotions to this day. Love it. But let's see what ChatGPT has to say. Ah, yes. Throne of Glass. The saga where Selena Sardothian goes from deadly assassin to Disney princess to Fae demigod queen in a glow-up arc that makes Sailor Moon look like an amateur. She starts off in a death camp, and by book 3, she's got a wardrobe that rivals a Paris Fashion Week model, 3 love interests, a 0 regard for subtlety. Every male in this book, tall, brooding, probably royalty, and allergic to shirts. So true. Every female is stunning, lethal, and emotionally repressed. Also true. Maas doesn't write characters, she writes fan cast lists. So true. She's so descriptive, so like picking the people out ready to, I guess, what do you call it? Star in the movie that's eventually supposedly going to be made. And let's not even pretend we weren't all confused when the plot went from assassin mystery to Fae war epic with a side of magical WMDs. Actually,
very true though.
It is. And I found that quite jarring, I have to admit. That shift from assassin to the Fae. Yeah, it was for the better. It was for the better.
I wonder whether when she started the series, the intent for the series was very different. Because it does feel like there's a stark shift there.
Yeah, and it just has to be. So bottom line is, it's like Sarah J. Maas started with, what if Game of Thrones, but horny? And then got bored halfway through and added dragons, ancient prophecies, and a world-ending evil, because why not?
And she probably made millions off it too.
I do have to admit, I didn't love. And also the random book of Kale thrown in there.
When I told you should read Throne of Glass series. And you started it.
Not as much as Crescent City, but it was just so not what I expected. I don't know why, but I thought every single one of her books would be about Fae. I wasn't expecting an assassin. I was just like, wait, what is happening here? Or trials. I wasn't expecting that either. Because there are trials in that first book. So yeah, there was just a lot of it that I was like, this is taking a while to get into. But then Assassin's Blade, I was like, this is getting better. And then by Air of Fire, by the ending of Air of Fire, I was so in. So in.
Yep. All right, that is a wrap from us today. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure to hit that subscribe button, give us a big thumbs up, and leave us a comment and telling us which books you are reading this month. Until next time, bye.
Bye.